The problem with the periods towards the end of a patch in Genshin is that usually there isn't much to do. So during these dry periods, I sometimes revisit places where I have not been to for a long time. Due to the way that Genshin is structured, there are many areas that exist which once hosted interesting challenges and puzzles, but which are seldom revisited as they are tucked away in out-of-the-way places. Plus, there's really no real reason to revisit them again after they have been successfully conquered, as there is no reward for redoing them. There is this old challenge near Quincy Village in Liyue that actually can be re-challenged as many times as you like. But there is no reward for beating it after the first time the challenge is successfully completed. Back in the early days of Genshin, this challenge was notorious for being very hard. Many players had to try several times to beat it. It was so hard that for many players, they needed help from co-op groups. This was because back then, many players didn't have access to much of the equipment and better characters that we have nowadays. It was especially hard for players with only access to the starter characters. Even for me, it took me several attempts to beat this challenge, but in the end I used the team featured in this video to do it. It is a rather odd team, but all 4 of these characters are still considered as being some of the best of the early 4-star units. Well, for the heck of it, I decided to redo this fight with this team, but of course, they are now a lot stronger than they used to be. Plus, they are all C6 and at level 90. Also, all but Barbara is crowned, and they have access to equipment and artifacts which were not available back in the early days of Genshin. But these 4 characters used here are strong enough now to take on the Spiral Abyss, where I have taken them all often, and even nowadays, I still use them there. If I had them then in the state that they are now, this fight would have been a cakewalk, as can be seen in this video. But the first time I cleared this challenge with them was before either Dragon Spine or Inazuma were released. That been over 2 years ago, but I still remember this fight. This is why I still play Genshin. It can, and still does, leave its players experiences like this that they can remember fondly years after the fact. It is this type of quality of gameplay which makes Genshin truly one of the best games of its genre.